Hello, I'm Colleen Pearl the Cool Crone, and thank you for coming to my channel. Today's video is all about the astrology that takes place from the new moon in Aquarius on February 1st up to the full moon in Leo on February 16th. On February 1st, 2022, we had a new moon in Aquarius 45 minutes after midnight. It hit Aquarius 12 degrees, 19 minutes. The moon in Aquarius needs to be free. They also need to be loved. As long as you are with a group of people, you can understand your complicated heart and avoid feeling anger and jealousy. But what are you afraid of? That is something to figure out during this new moon. At the time of the new moon, our emotions and feelings of the moon are in harmony with our ego, identity, and individuality of the sun. We can express our feelings and get what we need, but we need to be careful not to become self-centered and narrow-minded. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, so we can talk ourselves into nearly anything right now, making it even more important to be aware of those around us. Yes, we need to practice self-care, but we can't do that at the expense of others. In this video, we will explore the planetary ingresses, the retrograde planets, and the aspects all surrounding February 1st through the 15th. Let's start with planetary ingresses. They're pretty easy this month as we only have one. Mercury will enter Aquarius again on February 14th. Now let's talk about the retrograde planets, which are also pretty easy this time around. So we only have Mercury, which stations direct on February 3rd and begins its forward motion on February 4th. And at that time, we will have all planets moving in forward motion. Now remember I said that Mercury was entering Aquarius again on February 14th. That is because when a planet goes into retrograde, it will ultimately hit certain degrees 3 times in its travels. So on January 14th, Mercury went retrograde in the sign of Aquarius, and it moved backwards in Aquarius until it ultimately hit 29 degrees of Capricorn, which was January 27th. It continued to move back into Capricorn, and ultimately, I believe it reached about 24 or 25 degrees in Capricorn. When it stations direct on the 3rd, it will be at around 24 or 25 degrees of Capricorn, and it begins to move forward on the 4th, and by the 14th of February, it will again be in Aquarius for the second time. But during this retrograde motion, as you can see, it will hit the degrees from 24 degrees of Capricorn up to 10 degrees of Aquarius twice. Actually, 3 times. Once on the way in, starting from December really. Once on the way back when it was during the retrograde period, and again when it starts its forward motion after February 4th. So there are going to be some areas of your chart where these sensitive degrees have been hit 3 times by the time we get through Mercury going through the sign of Aquarius up to 10 degrees. Now let's go on to planetary aspects. On February 4th, we have the Sun conjuncting Saturn. Now this will bring everybody a lot of self-discipline. Some may be extremely, how shall I put this, stubborn, non-changeable, recalcitrant. They just don't want to change. And you may experience some problems in your work or in your relationships, but you will have a lot of determination from Saturn and energy from the Sun in order to tackle those issues. Also on February 4th, we will have Mars sextile Jupiter. And this is a high energy transit. The energy is really sparkling and people are looking for fun things to do together. But you may feel kind of a weird energy as people are sort of determined to have fun no matter what. weird. But anyway, be sure to do something active, engage in travel. You need to use up this energy, to expend this energy coming from Mars. And because of Jupiter, that energy is going to be really expanded. So if you don't put it somewhere, you're going to get very restless and bored, and that could lead to nasty consequences. On February 6th, we have Mars squaring Chiron. Now, this is a little tricky. It's a bit of a downer. Mars is in Capricorn, Chiron is in Aries. They're both cardinal signs. They both want to lead, and their energies are both pretty strong in these signs. We may find it very difficult to act and assert ourselves. We may second guess our actions. We may feel clumsy. We may feel inadequate. So the Mars-Chiron square brings about painful actions. There's a crisis that involves the need to face the wound head on. But we have the urge to maintain comfort, which is coming from Mars. So we may have passive-aggressive behavior, indirect anger, or we may come out with lots of raw and messy childhood memories that are getting triggered by some sort of current day issue. So it's not a very happy aspect. The square is an active aspect. As I said, these are cardinal signs. So the best course of action is to try to confront what is hurting and move through the pain rather than ignoring it. You may have been helpless at one time, but you're not now. A lot of these memories and triggers will be from childhood. So remember, you're not a child now. You're probably an adult if you're watching this video, and you can handle whatever happened to you. And by facing it and curing yourself or healing yourself from that trauma, you gain the awareness of how to help others through that similar kind of pain. And that's what Chiron is there for. It's to teach you to become a healer. All right, the next aspect that we have is Mars trine Uranus. Now, Mars trine Uranus is a time where you will be looking for new and unusual things to do. So you may pick up books on topics that you never read about before, or you may just stumble into a group that you never even thought about joining, and yet their conversation and their interests may really intrigue you. That's due to the planet of Uranus. And Mars is going to spur you to action in that direction. So another result of this aspect could be that people engage in extreme behavior that is quite physical. So they may engage in political anarchy, or they may engage in protest, even violence, and that's really not great. They could also use this aspect for research, and it would again be researching topics that are unusual or exotic to them. And finally, this is a great aspect for athletes to put in some of their most extraordinary performances. So if you are an athlete and you're trying to break a record or something, February 8th is the day to do it. The next day that we have a big aspect is February 11th, and this is when we have the Sun trine Lilith. Now, Black Moon Lilith is where we feel the need to push out our image to the world, especially where it comes to our sexuality or character traits that we may feel are not readily acceptable in normal society. The sun shines a light on these traits, and it may soften our abrasiveness and give us confidence, especially to those who feel resentful at having to hide these traits in the first place. So look for individuals sort of coming out under this influence and then being surprised when they're actually easily accepted. So they may even be a little let down that they are accepted so easily because they may have been sort of itching for a fight about things. Lilith is a little bit aggressive in that way. She hides, but then when she comes out, she's very assertive. So, you know, Lilith is a weird one. It's not a planet. It's a point of the orbit of the moon, but it's quite important where it comes to people's sexual identities and things that are hidden, especially things that we hide from ourselves. Also on February 11th, we have Mercury conjunct Pluto. Now, we have had this a couple of times already because Mercury was retrograde, and now that Mercury is direct, it's hitting this for the third time. Thinking at this time will be chaotic, especially if you have your planets close to the degrees where this Mercury is conjuncting Pluto. Your thinking will become chaotic because your subconscious thinking is connected very closely to your conscious thinking, and they collide. This is where you just can't believe that you're wrong. You just can't believe that everything that you think isn't just absolutely right, because Pluto is extreme and Mercury is your thinking, and so your thinking takes you to the extreme. You may have a compulsion to explain absolutely everything, not just what you believe, but everything under the sun. Again, if this hits a sensitive point in your chart. This can be an excellent time for research because it gives you that intensity to just go down the rabbit hole and ferret out all the information about a particular topic. Now, this also, if it's hitting you just right, may give you the ability to be a tremendously charismatic, even hypnotic speaker at this time. And with the aspects that have been going on with Neptune, this could be a little dangerous. You could find yourself able to really convince large crowds of people of some weird theory, some weird, I won't say conspiracy theory, but some, strange idea. Now, on the other hand, if you do not have Mercury and Pluto or some other personal planets at a close degree to these, then you may be subject to somebody who is very persuasive as a speaker and is convincing you of very weird things, even lies. So your analytical abilities at this time are quite high. So try to use that and discern whether the people who are speaking to you are telling the truth or not. I'm looking for this area, this time of February, to be a little weird in our country. We're going through a lot of different things with the February 6th committee and with all the things before the Supreme Court and with all the legislation that is on the line. We could have people arguing really crazy things, even on the news, that are just not true. So really, really pay attention, be discerning, don't let people fool you. And then finally, on February 15th, we have the full moon in Leo, and I'll be doing an entire video all about this full moon. And I just want to say, if you've watched all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please leave me a comment down below. I know this is a pretty short video, but while there's not a lot of aspects going on right now, they're very strong ones. So I do think it's going to be quite an explosive astrological time, actually, between the new and the full moons. So that's what I have for now, everybody, and I'll see you next time.